This is way worse than we thought. For the young, promising point guard in Dru Smith, it seems like it is just becoming impossible for him to return to the NBA and specifically this Miami Heat organization. I'm here to break down how injuries have simply derailed a young and promising career, as well as how he could still end up with this Miami Heat organization. We'll break down all of that on this episode of Heat Digest, but first remember to scroll down and click that subscribe button to stay up to date with everything Miami Heat, as nearly 90% of you guys watching this video are not currently subscribed. We do appreciate all the love and support, so thank you guys, but now let's get to it and break down the new updates on Dru Smith. Now, we haven't heard this name in a while, and the reason being is because every time you hear this name, it is in connection to a major injury. And if you don't believe me, Dru Smith returned to this Miami Heat organization after returning from an Achilles or an ACL tear where he got to play 15 minutes of basketball for the Miami Heat. Before then, he tore his Achilles tendon. Now, if you look back over his injury history, it feels like it has simply derailed him every single chance he gets. Whether it is 2 years ago and he tears his Achilles, or his ACL in his knee, or he rehabs for a year and a half, he comes back, and then guess what happens? He tears his Achilles. It feels like he has never gotten a fair shot at the professional stage of basketball. He was highly touted coming out of college. He was drafted by the Brooklyn Nets, and then he was obviously got acquired by this Miami Heat organization because they saw what this young man had in his abilities, and he just was never able to actually find his footing because every time it feels like he's actually getting an attempt to play the game of basketball, a substantial injury at that takes place, and then he is sidelined for a substantial amount of time where then he not only has to rehab and work back, whether an ACL tear or an Achilles tear, he has to work back to being game ready and being able to play on that tendon or on that tear, but then he has to find and get himself acclimated back on the NBA stage, where we all know this is not for the faint of heart. This is the top of the crop. This is the best athletes in the world playing the most competitive levels of basketball that are possibly available. You cannot do it on one leg, or you cannot do it on one knee or on one heel, if you will, regardless of the situation or injury that you're dealing with. And for this young man who is now going into his age 28 season, which feels crazy to say because if you look at the overall games played throughout his career, it really is demoralizing. In 2022-2023, his age 25 season, he played 15 games, one of them in which he started for the Brooklyn Nets before ending up in Miami, where he played 5 games starting in one of them. Following that season in 22-23, I got this backwards, with Miami and then with Brooklyn, 5 with Miami, 10 with Brooklyn, and then the following season in 2023-2024 with Miami, he played 9 games, did not start any of them, where he roughly played 15 minutes, and then last year, in 14 games, he started in one of them, he roughly playing 20 minutes a game, was then sidelined by a substantial injury. If this young man could just find out a way to not have a substantial injury, we could possibly see a way where Miami would want to give him a two-way contract, a standard contract, because he is no longer allowed to sign a two-way contract with this Miami Heat organization, as reported by Anthony Chang, I believe, is the writer of this article. I'm going to confirm that, and it'll be in the description if you'd like to read the entirety of it. But it's titled by Miami Herald Sports, if Dru Smith returns to the Heat, it won't be on a two-way contract, and here's why. If you click on the picture, it takes you to the article. It goes on to say, with the Heat already filling 2 of its 3 two-way contract slots by signing center Vlad Golden and forward Myron Gardner to such deals, the thinking was that the third and final two-way contract would be used to bring back guard Dru Smith. The problem is that Smith is no longer eligible to sign a two-way contract with the Miami Heat because of an NBA rule, according to league sources. While Smith is eligible to sign a two-way contract with any other team in the league because he has fewer than 4 years of NBA experience, he's not eligible to sign another two-way deal with the Heat because he has already been on two-way contracts with the Heat during 3 different salary cap years. According to the latest collective bargaining agreement, quote, no team may sign or convert a player to a two-way contract or acquire a two-way contract by means of assignment if, as a result, the player would be or could be under a two-way contract for any part of more than 3 salary cap years with the same NBA team. If you don't understand what a two-way contract is, this is your explanation. Two-way contracts, which pays half the NBA rookie minimum and do not count towards the NBA salary cap or luxury tax, allow for players to be on their NBA team's active list for as many as 50 regular season games, with other game action having to come in the G League. Two-way deals can be swapped at any time and do not come with playoff eligibility. Now, we knew exactly what these were because of the Keyshawn Johnson contract last year, as well as the Josh Christopher contract and others that were involved in this Heat organization that were put on two-way contracts that we were hoping to see in those 50 games on the regular season scale, in the NBA scale, and then playing the rest of the season out in the G League. Obviously, that wasn't the case for a lot of those names, but again, we did see highlights and small glimpses of them being able to participate. Smith signed two separate two-way contracts with the Heat during the 2022-2023 salary cap year, signed a 2-year deal with the Heat on July 1st, 2023, before being converted to a standard contract on October 21st, 2023. During the 2023-2024 salary cap year, and also spent last season on a two-way deal with the Heat during the 24-25 salary cap year. So, that is why it is a 3-year process. Dru Smith has been on a two-way deal for 3 separate salary cap seasons, which means he's no longer eligible to sign a two-way contract with this Miami Heat organization specifically. If any other team in the NBA decided to go out there and give him a two-way contract, obviously he would be able to then sign it and be a part of that team on a two-way deal. Miami is not the same, though. Miami cannot offer him that two-way contract and have him sign it because of how many years he has already been a part of this Heat organization on a two-way contract. So, making his life a lot harder in order to return to this Miami Heat organization. And I will be 100% honest, he is currently listed as the number 5 spot number 5 guy in the starting, or in the depth for the point guard position. I would love to see him over guys like Terry Rozier. As of right now, we don't know if either of these guys will even have a chance to play for this Miami Heat organization in this up-and-coming season. But if I'm picking one over the other, despite seeing the lack of gameplay in being as injury-prone as he is, I'm taking Dru Smith over Terry Rozier. Dru Smith has something substantial to prove. He will have a major chip on his shoulder going into this NBA season if he's able to stay healthy, and he is given and rewarded a actual standard contract rather than a two-way deal from this Miami Heat organization. I think he'd go out there and play with all the heart and all the effort in the world in attempt to prove that he is a ball player, and he has been a substantial guy just because of the injuries that have taken place. That is really why you have not seen all of the Dru Smith that we all expected to see when he was drafted out of college into the NBA by this Heat organization. Let me know down below your overall thoughts and opinions on this entire fiasco going on. Would you like to see another standard contract being handed out, and to Dru Smith specifically? Let me know down below what your overall thoughts and opinions are, and I will see you guys on the next episode of Heat Digest.